Welcome to Self Mastery Success: How to Effectively Eliminate Self Sabotage, Elevate Your Energy, and Lead in Your Work and Life to Achieve Success. We are all about creating excellence, and in this interview series, we're going to dive deep into the minds of high performing leaders and industry experts to unlock the strategies behind their success. In each episode, you get to be offered invaluable insights that will help you and you can apply to elevate your personal and professional life. Be sure to check out the description below for more details about today's guest, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any actionable tips and strategies from these experts. Also, you can access exclusive gifts and resources from our experts that will support you on your journey to excellence. And without further ado, we're going to be introducing today's guest, Alenka Kyslik. Alenka, how are ya?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Tell us a bit, tell the audience a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Alenka. I am currently based out of Los Angeles, but I grew up in Canada. My parents were political refugees before I was born out of, at that time, the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia. I was the first of my family to graduate college. I then went on to work in the software industry in video games and putting Wi-Fi on airplanes. And in the last few years, I had a whole bunch of things happen. It's been an adventure that has turned into something I never planned before, which is launching my own company.
Wow, wow. And firstly, thank you for the Wi-Fi on the airplanes. Your contribution, so that is. And I find it interesting that your story in terms of leveraging your skills, like building software, and your journey seems to be more of a heat kind of in some ways healing and like elevating. So that you've been like in
Mm.
both worlds, and I know you
Yeah.
take a holistic view on health in particular. Um, why? And I understand that's like a great foundation for you in terms
Mm.
of how you operate. Why is taking a holistic view in our health so important?
Yeah, I think it's really easy to say, "Oh, I'm just stressed," and kind of leave it at that and continue on life, or "Oh, like my stomach's a bit upset," but like just ignore it and push it away because that allows us to get through our life and get through whatever we're dealing with or going through, etc. But um what holistic just means, I think it's used a lot in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But to me, it means like you're looking at whatever it is as a whole, right? So you're looking at the person as a whole, you're looking at the problem as a whole, whatever the problem is. I think something that if I try to put another analogy to it, because we sometimes get stuck in our own brains about things. Um, if you think that there's a leak in the sink, right? For example, then like, oh, like if I turn the water off, that's going to fix the leak. And it does, right? But it's not actually fixing the problem. It's kind of like stopping it at an earlier point. And we can do this with like pain pills where we take pain pills and it's like, well, I'm not in pain anymore, so it's fine. It's like, no, you were in pain for a reason. You didn't actually fix the reason why you were in pain. And we kind of get stuck in this band-aid patch solution, which works for a lot of us and gets us through most of life. But for some of us, and I was one of those people, the band-aid solution just wasn't working anymore. And so to me, holistic means like, let's look at why the pipe is leaking, not just like turn off the water, right? Let's try to figure out what's going on. Maybe there's a seal that's cracked. Maybe there's something else going on. I'm not a plumber. My dad is. So I think I've gone too far with that analogy, but you know what I'm saying. I think it's just really important to start to get an understanding of what's going on in a bigger way, not just like, oh, I keep in my case, one of the things was I kept rolling my ankle. And it's, you can kind of brush that off as like, oh, whatever that happens. But there was a lot more going on.
Mhm.
And when I started to uncover some of those layers, right, we can talk about the layers of an onion. If you're a Shrek fan, you understand what I'm saying, right? There's a lot of layers there. And if you kind of get into the core of it, then you can help solve the problems. And it's amazing how many other things can end up getting solved that you would have never realized could have been solved with that, right? So I think holistic, it's important for me for any solution I look at, whether it's my health or something else. I look at the whole piece and all of the things that it's related to and everything else going on in order to try to solve it, because then you can do the most comprehensive fix, if you will.
And exactly. I agree in terms of yeah, a lot of people like to use holistic as in very it's funny because holistic is meant to be the opposite of the way a lot of people use it, which is they use it like as it's like very niche or narrow, but it's really not. And speaking of that, I know you said you delved into gaming and whatnot. And so if we look at how did what was in your life like let's say if we put it into an analogy of a game where there was like a glitch in the system. So the game wasn't was what was there something that wasn't well designed like in your life as opposed to a game that you had to like fix the problems on and what led you to this point now to
Yeah.
create this like great game of your life in a sense.
So, I actually part of my background, and still my day job, because something has to pay for building the company I'm building, is in video games. So I can give a lot of great analogies with this one. I think, for example, if there's a bug in the game, let's say something's crashing, you don't know what's crashing, it just is. Um, from the back end perspective, we can look and see, is there a memory issue, right? Like, did you just run out of memory and the app decided to crash? That happens with us. It's called burnout, as human beings, right? Is there fundamentally, is there an incompatibility between what the game is trying to do and what's available? So that could be what's available in terms of, like I said, memory. It could be in terms of other aspects of the game, like are they coordinating and working with each other? Because if they're not talking to each other properly, then things tend to break down. It could be that there's a server issue, right? So when I say memory issue, I think more device memory, but there's also like server issues. There could be bandwidth issues where things time out. There's a lot of different things that can turn into a game crashing. And if we take that into like our human body, the like there's a lot of other things that can happen, right? If you're not eating well enough, your body needs the building blocks of nutrition in order to function, right? And it's one of those annoying things because we have to do it every day, right? It doesn't just go away. um, and so for me, nutrition was a huge part of it. I had certain depletions in certain vitamin levels, mineral levels, amino acids that I had to get tests that weren't standard to discover. And then I had to make a lot of concerted effort and spend a lot of money on changing my diet, changing the supplements I was taking to in order to kind of get those levels to a different place. And then what ended up happening is, in addition to um, helping fix some of those issues with my ankles, it actually helped with my energy levels because the vitamin deficiencies that are needed to build soft tissues were also related to like dopamine creation and motivation, and better sleep, like which you don't think about until you start going down the rabbit hole, which was me, right? And kind of like understanding like, oh, there's more interrelated pieces. And I think the more you know, the more you learn you don't know, right? That's the old adage. But
Mhm.
then also the more you realize that things are really interconnected, and like getting enough sleep, having stress, being stressed doesn't allow for your body to actually ingest the nutrients and what you're eating in the way, because it impacts your digestive tract, right? And then if you're not getting what you need, even though you're putting it in your mouth, it doesn't get to the parts of the body that need, and you're kind of in this cycle. And when a friend of mine was helping me do research for my company, she's a neuroscientist, and she's like, this is insane. All of these loops just keep looping. Like they keep on getting worse. And I'm like, yeah, you have to break the loop. And that's the hard thing, right? We have to break a habit. We have to change some part of our life. And nobody likes change. And so you really have to decide, no, it's worth it for me to make a shift because I don't want to live like this anymore.
Oh yeah. Oh snap. That's facts. And you speak about burnout. Is that something that you had to recover from? And if so, because I guess because again, that's one of the main things that a lot of people go through. I actually know a lot of people that have troubles with their foot, and I know as well that it's due to a mineral deficiency. They they'll find out, of course, when they delve deep into themselves. But what was the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself and even recovering from burnout that can be
Yeah.
to anyone that's actually experiencing it? Like,
I think there's a lot of really interesting things about it. Burnout effectively is chronic unresolved stress over a long period of time, right? I think we think about burnout in terms of employment or work, but it can be related to other aspects. It could be relationships. It could be if you're a caretaker, if you're a parent, right? Like depending on what's going on in your life.
Mm.
If an unresolved stress means basically you keep on doing the things and you keep on holding on and there's no release, right? There's different ways to release that stress. You can talk about taking a deep breath. You can talk about going for a walk. Dancing is an excellent way to release stress, right? There's a lot of free tools and things that can do that, but the accumulation of stress and the release of it, there's often it's the release isn't enough to get rid of the accumulation, right? So managing that, everybody works differently, everybody needs different things, and so that makes it hard because there's not a one size fits all. um I think the biggest thing is for me was learning to be kind to myself in that.
Mm.
My brain shut down. I couldn't function. I couldn't write emails. I was super productive and have been my entire life. And then all of a sudden I couldn't force myself to do it. Like nothing, my brain just didn't, I was sitting there in front of the computer for hours and it just wasn't computing. Um, and so to someone else, it looked like lazy, but I was truly trying. And I've seen this with a lot of other people. And the problem is it's not, there's no immediate fix. It takes about 3 to 5 years for someone to recover from burnout. I napped for the first like 2 years almost every day. I like slept in. My pace of life was so much slower and I removed a lot of things out of my life um, because I couldn't do more than I was doing. And I will say now, 3 years in, and like really intentionally trying hard to improve it, I'm in a good place. Um, but I will say that doesn't mean that things don't happen. Like I cracked my tooth when I went through burnout the first time to the point where I had to get it like fixed and get a crown because the grinding was so strong.
Mm.
I then about a year later, I was in so much pain in my jaw that I went to the dentist as an emergency appointment because I didn't know what was happening. And she's like, "Oh, you've just ground your teeth too hard." And it's daytime and nighttime. Like people talk about grinding at night. It was daytime too. And that was stress. So at that point, it hurt to drink hot and cold things. And so I decided to get, apparently it happened. You can get Botox that literally numbs the muscle that triggers grinding. And that's what I did, but it's not actually fixing the reason. Again, it's the leaky pipe solution, right? It turned off the water.
Mhm.
Um, and then earlier this year, even though I'm in a good place, a few things happened and I cracked that tooth again, right? So it's not like I am in a good place. I have a lot of these like coping mechanisms built into my life, but the stress doesn't go away. I mean, I'm building a company while working a full-time job, right? This doesn't, it's inherently a stressful thing. But I think being kind to yourself and just, giving yourself a minute to take that nap, sleep in, cancel that meeting. Trust me, the world's not going to end and you will feel so much better.
Super facts. Oh my days. So and when you said being kind to yourself, that is, it's so underrated. It's so
Yeah.
underrated because if you're not, again, if you're not kind to yourself, if you're not actually doing the best for yourself, you can't do the best, you can't do your best for others.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what we do for ourselves is going to contribute and impact others by default. Whether we think we're doing it for ourselves, on the receiving end, someone is getting affected in some way. And
Mhm.
so the more we're responsible for our health and the more we're responsible for how we operate ourselves and not being not really listening to all the outside voices, but actually listening to our inner voice as well, we get to understand that. And I know you say you're juggling all the things at the moment in terms of got your daytime job, you got your company you're building, and plus still managing your healing process. What has been aside from finding out you have to be kind to yourself, like what has been a surprise for you on your entrepreneurship journey and really mastering yourself?
Yeah. One of the things that came up, so I think a lot of us have experienced imposter syndrome or this false belief that you're either not good enough or you're not qualified enough or you don't have the skills to do whatever the thing is that you're trying to do. Um, believe me, there are people out there who know a lot less than you who are still doing something. Whether or not it's the quality you would do, that's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm saying is, working through that imposter syndrome was a good, I want to say the better part of a year for me,
Okay.
to really like work through and figure out. And then in addition to that, being comfortable being on camera, being recorded, talking publicly, those were all things that I had avoided. I mean, I could do a presentation very, very easily about, a topic I knew, but just talking about my life or something, that was a lot harder. And I think for both of those cases, what grounded me and brought me back, was this phrase that is your mission stronger than your fear.
Mm.
And I found that every time I was like, oh, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I would think about that. I'm like, no, like I might be terrified of whatever it is, but that terror is nothing compared to the mission and the belief that what I'm doing is going to make an impact. And that is more important than my fear.
Most definitely. Again, yeah, it's when you have the mission, the values, and the vision. It's like it's as a that's when you know you're an entrepreneur. Is when And that's when you'll know you're destined for to actually create something that's actually worthwhile and it's actually impactful. It's going to be fulfilling to not only you but to whoever's using it or connected to that in any way. And it's so important that we do anchor ourselves and really remove the fear, because I mean most of the time it's like kind of trepidation, like it's kind of future anxiety, or it's just it's that physical sensation that is not going to be cured just by having a pill. It's a long-term process of healing. It's a long-term process of identifying all these things and really clearing that imposter syndrome, embracing the fact that we're gonna reach new levels, and there's gonna be new levels of imposter syndrome that pop up as well. And I think that's beautiful that you realized that and took time for that and finding solutions. I'm curious. As because I like games. I'm not really a gamer, but what's is there like a impactful quote from a game that you've carried with you?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. So I'm actually not much of a gamer either.
Mm.
I'm just good at building them.
Oh, that's
Um, I don't know. I think what I will say is there's something about the hero's journey that we
mm,
all see ourselves in or want to see ourselves in. And I think it's always good to reflect on, why we're drawn to it and what about that kind of brings us in. Or sometimes it's the villain's journey. I love that, it's
mm.
the script is being flipped lately. That's always it's good to see that we're multidimensional people.
Yes, most definitely. Um, what is what is a solution, or what is a holistic approach that any like wherever anyone is right now, they can start this one step in terms of taking a holistic approach to their life. What is like one specific action they can do right now today after just watching and listening to you?
Yeah. I think to me the biggest thing is really kind reflection. So like in the moment, things happen, right? Something stressful, we go for the comfort food. Something stressful, we watch a bunch of TV because we just need to like disconnect. And that's all okay because we all need different ways of dealing. But I think one of the important things is to give yourself space and time, just like a couple of seconds. Like you could do this for 20 minutes or an hour, but a couple of seconds to be like, okay, that happened. Do I know why I like reached for that, bag of chips or sorry, crisps or do I know why I reached to turn on that specific, like, what was I feeling? What was going on in my body before that happened, right? It could be you had a talk with a stressful boss that you don't like, or a conversation with your significant other that turned into an argument, or you saw a piece of news that really stressed you out. And when you start to see these patterns, you can start to be like, oh, that's why my shoulder hurts because I was stressed out and I was like clenching my shoulder. I do this all the time. Or if I'm working for too many hours, my right shoulder gets all clenched up.
Mm.
Um, but until we are able to kind of start to see the patterns, it's really hard for us to make changes. But when I say be kind to yourself at it, is don't judge yourself for the thing you did that brought you comfort. Like that's, we need comfort too, and that's okay. I mean, but if we're able to then realize what's happening sooner, we can intercept it often, right? And we can try to get an understanding of like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have a tough conversation with my boss today. Like I know that's gonna happen. But I'm gonna schedule time with a friend right after because it's gonna shift me out of being stuck thinking about that conversation. And I'm gonna like either call my friend or like go for a walk or whatever, you know, meet them, whatever it is. And that then gets us out of this stuck state of being like whatever the stress is, right? But if you're not kind to yourself about it, you just beat yourself up, oh, you should do this or you should, you know, clean the house top to bottom. Yeah, you could, and maybe you should, but maybe it can happen tomorrow, and that's okay. And beating yourself up for it isn't going to make you want to do it anymore.
Yes, most definitely. Uh, is there a gift you want to share with the audience, or how can they connect with you further as well?
Yeah, so we're launching our prototype. So it uses matchmaking to connect you to holistic providers, specifically focusing on burnout, chronic stress, chronic fatigue, and chronic pain. Totally free. The waitlist is live, sahacollective.com. That's SAHA collective.com, and we'll be going live in December. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, saha.collective, and you can email me at info@sahacollective.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And well, thank you. Is there anywhere else they can connect with you?
I'm like, I think that's most of it. Yeah, you can always shoot me an email, info@sahacollective.com. I feel like that's the most direct, but I'm the one managing all the social media.
Got it, got it. Thank you, Alenka, and Saha Collective, guys. You wanna go to sahacollective.com, all right, and check out this innovative solutions is what I like to say. And so and thank you, audience, for tuning in to another episode of Self Mastery Success. Please share any key insights and valuable takeaways that stood out to you the most from this today's conversation. And please share your thoughts in the comments because we'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with the latest expert interviews. You can also click the notify me button and receive a reminder for when we go live with these interviews so you can join us and ask us questions in real time. Remember, every expert in the series has gifted you some incredible resources and tools to support you on your journey to self-mastery. So check the description down below for the gifts page and info about today's guests. And remember, excellence. Self-mastery success starts with aligning your goals, time, and energy, and we are here to guide you and lead you every step of the way. Take care and see you on the next one.